Have you been at that place here?
No, I've never been. It's quite spectacular.
Yet some time watching it?
Yeah, well, I'd like to. Whoa, I'd like to look at all the cars, and I wish I had time to go to the museum because it looks wonderful.
You're staying a bit in Munich now?
No, we just got here yesterday. We're leaving tomorrow, so I don't really. And everything's closed. Well, except this.
You had a little look on the Oktoberfest?
I just a little peek. So.
You went in there or just?
No, just kind of looked. I really haven't had time because we got in yesterday around 3 o'clock, and we were tired. And then we leave tomorrow, and I had events, like things, meetings, interviews all day, so I just haven't had a chance.
So hopefully you get a little chance to see some of the cars.
Well, I hope so.
The museum is open until late night after the thing.
Well, we'll see. I haven't eaten supper yet, so I haven't eaten since breakfast.
What do you like the cars?
My husband drives a BMW, and I'm actually trading in my Porsche for a BMW.
Okay.
When I get home.
So your latest book shows something about the horror of a woman with a lost child.
Yes.
So has it something to do with the Madden thing there?
Well, not the story. I just, that what happened to her has always, I'm sure everybody remembers it. And so at the time, I always thought it would make an interesting story, and so I just used the disappearance of a child under similar circumstances. The parents on holiday and they'd leave the children alone and go for dinner, but that's really the only similarity because the rest of the story is all fiction. It's just and I thought, well, what would happen if 15 years later a girl shows up at this woman's door and says, I think I'm your daughter. So you have the two mysteries really going on. Is she, excuse me, and the book goes back and forth between the present and the past. And so you have the two mysteries going on at the same time. Is this girl her daughter? Is this girl the missing child? And what happened 15 years ago? What actually did happen? Mm-hmm. So, and then by the end of the book, you know the answer to both those questions. Okay. But it's fiction. It really has nothing to do with Madeline McCann.
You've just finished your next book.
Yes.
Can you tell us something about it?
Not too much, not yet. It's too early to talk about it yet. Yes, it's about a woman who goes back to the town where she was raised after her father and his young wife and young daughter are shot during the home invasion. Mm-hmm. So she goes back to, sort of see what happened.
What happened?
Yeah.
What happened?
No, I'm not telling.
So is writing easy for you?
I don't know if I'd say it's easy. No, I guess I would say it is easy. It's easy in the sense that it's what I do. It's something I'm good at, and writing a particular book isn't necessarily easy. Figuring out what to do with the idea and how to plot it and how best to tell the story. That part is not necessarily easy. The writing itself is the easiest part.
You do the research on the spot, like Jean Le Carré said, he did some mistakes in one of his biggest books when he was writing about some speed racing thing between Hong Kong, and afterwards he found out there was already a tunnel.
I've made mistakes, yeah. I mean, I don't like to do research, personally, so I only do as much research as I need to do to make the story believable. So if I'm writing about the justice system in Chicago, for example, then I will research the justice system in Chicago. Or if I'm writing about certain medications, or for example, in my book Still Life, I don't know what it was called, Coma, I think, in German. I needed to know what happens to somebody, who, if they're hit by a car going 50 miles an hour, and if they're in a coma, what tests would be done, what procedures would be performed. So all that I will research. And now with the internet, it makes it much easier to do research. I have to research, for this book, for Die Schwester, I had to research San Diego. I've been to San Diego, but many, many years ago, so I didn't really remember enough. So I had to do research about that. I had to do research about Rosarita, Texas, Mexico. I had to, just little things like that are important, that I get the details right. But the rest is really just my imagination, how I think I would react to a certain situation. If I were Caroline, the mother in the story, how might I react to something like this? Just try and make the story, tell it from that point of view. But I don't, and I have made mistakes. One time somebody asked me, and with one of my books, I had the heroine go to the library to look up all these things she had to know. And somebody said, well, why didn't you just use the internet? But that, and I said, that just didn't occur to me, because when I was, younger, we went to the library. So now I wasn't used to using the internet to do research, so it didn't occur to me, whereas somebody younger obviously would have clued into that right away. I once referred to alligators in Florida. I said crocodiles. Well, there aren't any crocodiles in Florida, they're alligators. So at once I said that in Florida, somewhere, I can't remember, I said it was east of Fort Lauderdale. Well, if it's east of Fort Lauderdale, it's going to be in the middle of the ocean, so it was obviously west. But my sense of direction isn't the best. So.
But who told you?
And nobody, corrected. There was another book where I said she was putting bullets into the barrel of the gun, and I got a letter or an email from somebody who said, obviously you know nothing about guns, because if she puts the bullets in the barrel, they're just going to fall out, so things like that. But there's always somebody, a reader, if not an editor, there's always a reader to correct you.
What happens to those mistakes? Did you change the crocodile to an alligator?
I right away, send an email or phone the editor and say, for the next editions, you better correct this.
No crocodile.
Have you done this, or in one of the books?
Yeah.
That you changed that?
Oh yeah, I for subsequent editions of that book, yes. Where I'll, if I find a mistake, then I'll, and sometimes a lot, like with the book before this one, there was a line in there that should have been cut, that was cut out, but for some reason it got left in, and nobody saw that until I was reading through it, and I saw it, and I said, make sure that's taken out next time. So mistakes happen. Sometimes they're my fault, sometimes they're somebody else's.